Hello, humans! I've been criticizing Disney quite a bit lately, and while that's been fun and therapeutic, I'm still a massive fan of Disney and would like to talk about something great about them. Since one of my most popular videos is where I fix Disney's adorkable problem, I figured I would talk about my top 10 favorite Disney heroines. Now let's establish some guidelines. I will only be talking about Disney's animated heroines, which means that live-action heroines will not be in this video. Yes, that includes Giselle from Enchanted. Since she was in live action for a majority of her movie, I will only be including characters from their animated movies, so that means no TV show heroines like Kim Possible will be included, and I will not be including characters from properties that Disney has bought, so that means that characters like Anastasia/Anya from Anastasia won't be included, otherwise she would be my second favorite. Why? Because apart from putting them on Disney+, Disney hasn't done anything to promote or profit off of these movies, so it's hard to consider them to be actual Disney movies. It's why I don't consider movies like Anastasia or Thumbelina to actually be Disney movies, despite the fact that they do technically own them. But other than that, I will have free range in what heroines make this list. So that means that Pixar and Disney sequel heroines will be fair game. Keep in mind that this is going to be heavily biased since this is obviously my opinion, so your favorite might not necessarily be my favorite and vice versa. Feel free to share your favorites and your thoughts on my list, just don't be about it. Now without any further delay, let's dive right on in. Number 10. Jasmine from the Aladdin franchise. I always relate to Jasmine feeling trapped in her circumstances because I have often felt trapped in my own growing up, and even a little bit now. Granted, I'm not royalty living in a palace like her, but that doesn't make her any less relatable. She wants to be her own person that defines her own destiny, but unlike a lot of girl boss characters, isn't opposed to being in a relationship. She just wants the person she marries to be someone that she loves, rather than just some pompous and selfish prince. I also love that she clearly cares about her people and is actively trying to help them, though we see more of this in the TV series where her character is honestly at her best. She's sassy and hot-headed, but also kind and caring. She knows her worth and doesn't let herself be talked down to or treated like some prize to be won. Despite her inexperience, she's still brave and courageous, even though she still has her doubts about herself like any real person would. And thanks to the TV series, she's more fleshed out than other heroines since she's given more material to work with. I love her bluntness and how she's not afraid to stand up for herself, even if it's not considered quote-unquote proper, because those who behave rarely make history, and she certainly made history in Disney. She's the one Disney princess who isn't the protagonist of her movie, but that doesn't mean she isn't just as interesting and compelling of a character. Truly a stellar character that's shining, shimmering, splendid. Number 9. Angel from Lady and the Tramp 2 Scamp's Adventure. Yes, there's a sequel character on this list, though it helps that she's from one of the best Disney sequels. I love how she's very sly and confident, but isn't cocky or arrogant. However, despite her confidence, she also has her insecurities, with her wanting a permanent family, since she has had 5 families that have taken her in, but when she starts to think that this one is for keeps, they move, have a new baby, or have an allergy. So despite her desire for a family, she's very jaded about the world, feels that she can only depend on herself, and only sticks around the junkyard dogs because she feels she has no other alternative. Angel is a phenomenal character that is smart, sassy, jaded, confident, insecure, layered, brave, brutal, sly, caring, kind, and just so flipping adorable. I love how even though she's a major factor in Scamp's development and is basically the glue that holds the movie together, Scamp helps with her development. He allows her to be brave enough to be vulnerable and to see that you don't have to only look out for yourself because he looks out for her. The two of them help each other grow like a true couple should. Despite their age, their love is on the same level as any adult relationship because they were friends first and then fell in love. I love that while she's meant to be Scamp's love interest, she doesn't feel tacked on and actually has a clear character of her own. Overall, she's a deep and very complex character that I just can't help but love. Number 8. Jane Porter from the Tarzan franchise. First of all, she's one of the most underrated Disney heroines of all time that doesn't get the attention she deserves from Disney. But that is mostly because of how Disney would have to pay royalties to Edgar Rice Burroughs' estate. And Disney is known for their inability to share, even though they can afford it. But back to Jane herself. Long before we had Disney's many adorable heroines, we had Jane, who was very clumsy and quirky herself, but in a way that actually feels organic, and her quirkiness isn't her most defining character trait. She's very much a nerd her that is passionate about everything she does. I mean, she had to stop just to draw a picture of a baboon because she was just so excited about it. I love that even though she's eccentric and unconventional, she's still prissy, which you'd expect from a woman of her background. She's highly intelligent, fun-loving, curious, caring, sweet, and is absolutely hilarious. She's by far the funniest of all of Disney's heroines. My wife and I are always quoting her, and she makes us laugh every time she does something comedic. Much like Jasmine, her character gets even more fleshed out in the TV series, where she is still super enjoyable despite no longer being voiced by Minnie Driver, who gave a brilliant performance. I also love how in terms of looks, she's more average looking rather than a knockout. Usually Disney makes their heroines picture perfect and flawless looking, but with Jane, while she's not unattractive, she's not a stunning beauty either, and has physical flaws. I really appreciate that they weren't afraid to have her looks break away from their usual standards of beauty. She's quite different from her book counterpart, and I'm usually against changing characters' already established personalities, but that's what helps her stand out from every other version of the character. To this day, this is my definitive version of Jane. This quirky girl blows Disney's current ones out of the water. She is just awesome. Number 7. Raya from Raya and the Last Dragon. For those of you who have seen my video about fixing Disney's adorkable problem, I mentioned that Raya is one of the few heroines of the revival era that doesn't have an adorkable personality, making her one of the more unique characters of the era. Unlike the bubbly, optimistic, quirky, and over-the-top heroines of the era, Raya is mature, snarky, pessimistic, cheeky, serious, and jaded. This is a character type that is not only unique to this era of Disney, but also a rare character type from Disney in general. I love that she's not so optimistic and bubbly, but can still be sweet and caring towards the ones she loves. Also, speaking as someone who has trust issues, I do relate to Raya and her journey with her distrust of people. She's been hurt, and when she trusted someone, the world ended up broken because of it. So her trying to save the world isn't about trying to help the world, but to help her kingdom and bring her father back. On the one hand, it's selfless for her to do so because of her people, but on the other hand, she's selfish for not caring about the rest of the world, but it makes sense because of her experiences and trust issues. I also love how she's a bit xenophobic, but she slowly starts to let down her walls and trust others from different clans. I love characters that are relatable but also have a lesson to learn that helps them grow as a person, and Raya definitely fits that bill. I also love how, unlike other heroines who are great with kids and babies, she's very awkward when interacting with Noi at first. It shows that not everyone is great with kids, and it's something that can be learned. Plus, as someone who doesn't plan on having kids, I appreciate that there's a Disney heroine who outright says that she's not having kids and isn't demonized for it. She shows her growth with how she's able to let herself have connections with others as the movie goes on, but she's also a bad of a fighter. The woman has moves, but I love that there's more to her than just her physical strength. I love her snarky and jaded personality as well as her journey that felt unique to her. Plus, she breaks the Disney princess mold with how she wasn't wanting more out of life, but rather wanted the life that she used to have back. Not to mention, she was the closed-minded one, while her father was the open-minded one. I also love how she became one of the few Disney protagonists that was willing to kill. Granted, she didn't do it, but she was willing to kill Namari during the climax of the movie. However, she's ultimately a good person who comes to the realization that it wasn't right. She's a phenomenal and underrated character from a phenomenal and underrated movie. Give us more characters like her and unique personalities, Disney. Number 6. Esmeralda from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I mean, we all know that you can't have a top 10 best Disney heroines list without including her, and for good reason. She's strong, courageous, independent, bold, blunt, isn't afraid to speak her mind, and is absolutely sassy. However, her most admirable qualities are her kindness and selflessness towards others. Yes, she isn't afraid to speak her mind and is blunt, but it's not without a purpose. She's not afraid to speak up against the injustices that others go through, given how she suffers those injustices on a regular basis as a Romani woman, because she has a strong moral compass. Yeah, if this movie came out today, it would be hated on by a certain ignorant group for being quote-unquote too woke, without realizing that woke isn't a bad thing and is simply being socially aware of others. Esmeralda is definitely woke. If she were any more woke, she would never sleep, and it's because of that she's such a beloved character. She's a socially aware person, though it's hard not to when you're always being persecuted. But she's also beloved because she's not just there to be a statistic. She's an important part of the story story and has a fully defined personality that I absolutely adore. I also love that even though she's fighting for others, she still wants respect for herself. I love her feistiness and sass, as well as her gentleness and kindness. She doesn't want to be treated better than others, but rather just be treated as any other person. She's a truly spectacular character that is beloved by Disney fans for a reason. If you want a more in-depth look at this character, check out this amazing video by my awesome friend Better with Bob. Also, side note, Esmeralda is the most beautiful Disney character ever. Number 5. Lilo from the Lilo and Stitch franchise. This is definitely one of the best child characters ever, and I don't just mean from Disney. She's weird, eccentric, she's emotional, she gets into fights, she's sweet, she's charming, she's hilarious, she's clever, she's adventurous, she's sassy, and it's just the most entertaining part of her movie. And considering the cast of characters in this franchise, that's saying a lot. I love how she's into unconventional things that a girl her age typically isn't into. It's great rep for those of us who were weird kids growing up. I mean, while I wasn't into the things that she was into, being a merboy who was and still is into traditionally feminine things made me a bit of an outcast growing up. Speaking of great rep, many have said that Lilo is autistic coded, and while this hasn't been confirmed by either the original creator or Disney, I definitely can get behind it. Speaking as someone who is autistic, I definitely remember having a lot of similar behaviors to Lilo at that age. Not entirely, because everyone with autism is different. My wife and I are both autistic, but we have different sensory issues from each other and behave differently from each other as kids, but still saw ourselves in Lilo. My wife particularly sees herself in Lilo due to being a brown autistic woman, who don't get a lot of rep in media. But anyway, even if I didn't connect to Lilo because of my autism, I would still adore her, especially since I didn't learn that I was autistic until I was a senior in high school, and still grew up loving Lilo. She has a very creative way of doing things, and it helps her stand out from a lot of other heroines. Even heroines who are allegedly supposed to be more unique and break the mold like Mirabel from Encanto can't hold a candle to Lilo's uniqueness. She has a style that's all her own, and that's what makes her the perfect friend for Stitch, along with her immense generosity. Many have said that Lilo means lost in Hawaiian, but it can also mean generous one, which perfectly describes Lilo due to her not only being lonely, but also her generous heart that managed to break through to Stitch. However, she still has her limits, and when pushed too far, she'll come at you hard. I also relate to her loneliness as someone who has a hard time both making friends and maintaining friendships. She also has some of the best lines in the movie. Her personality continues to shine in other forms of media she appears in, especially the excellent TV series. You can't have a Lilo and Stitch project without her, because she's the heart of the franchise. Yes, I'm aware of those stupid shows that don't have Lilo, and I don't plan on watching them. They don't exist. Number 4. Pocahontas. First of all, yes, I know this movie is problematic with its misrepresentation of the real Pocahontas' life and portraying Pocahontas in a romantic relationship with John Smith when she was a child when they met, and the fact that he intended to colonize her people. However, I still adore this movie. Plus, it's more inspired by the legend of Pocahontas rather than the real-life person. Yes, it has its issues, but it also has gorgeous animation, incredible songs, a more amazing musical score, an engaging romance, likable and iconic characters, a great message that's definitely relevant today, and most importantly, one of the best protagonists to ever come out of Disney. And I'm just gonna quickly plug my friend Better with Bob again, because he made these awesome videos on the Pocahontas movie. Despite the issues Native Americans have with the movie, one thing, at least to my understanding, that they universally agree on is that in terms of personality, Pocahontas' personality is spot on, so it's no wonder that Pocahontas herself is the best thing about the movie. I adore how she's curious, adventurous, mischievous, fun-loving, playful, and daring. However, she's also smart and mature. She's undeniably a remarkable character that deserves nothing but praise. I love how she has a journey of finding her path but isn't sure what her path is. And I don't just mean that she has to decide between two things, but rather she has no idea what her second option is. It's something a lot of people can relate to who can't decide what they want to do with their life. So it's interesting and unique to have a character who doesn't have a clear idea of what they want, but still know that they want more than the life that's been planned for them. When you think about it, Pocahontas is a pretty complex character in that sense. It's one of the reasons I adore her, along with her just being a really fun and exciting character. One of my favorite scenes is just her going down the water rapids, and instead of her just going down the safe path, that she goes for the more exciting and fun path, because that's just who she is. I mean, when she's supposed to come down to the river to get into the canoe with Nakoma, she could just run down there, but instead she chose the more daring option of diving off. I wish I had the amount of guts she has. She's such an exciting character, and there's nothing dull about her, but she also stands stands up for what's right and will lay her own life down in order to do what needs to be done. She's such an underrated character that it's painful to think about. I adore Pocahontas and consider her to be one of the best characters Disney has ever created. Number 3. Megara from Hercules, but her friends call her Meg, at least they would if she had any friends. Yeah, you know I had to quote that. Unlike the other heroines on this list, she actually started off in her movie as a bit of an antagonist and became a heroine because of her love for Hercules. One of the things I love most about Megara is her amazing snark. Being that I'm someone who's incredibly sarcastic, sassy, and snarky, I relate to characters who are like that as well. She's honestly the sassiest Disney character ever. Literally no one can match her. Yes, there have been sassy and snarky characters from Disney, a good number of which are even on this list, but none meet the same level of sarcasm as her. She's one of the most unique Disney heroines, with starting off as a bit of an antagonist, being way more snarky and jaded than other Disney heroines, and actually having a romantic history instead of just only being in a relationship with one person in your life, and that's the one person you end up marrying. A lot of people can relate to Meg in the fact that she gave and gave all her love to someone that she was in a relationship with, but that person didn't love her as much. She gave so much that she sold her soul to save her boyfriend's life, only for him to dump her for some random girl. No wonder she swore off love and became so jaded. But I love how she learns to love again and sees that it's not bad to give yourself to someone so long as it's the right person. Because just like how Meg gave up her life to save Hercules, he was willing to give up his life to get hers back. While Hercules is a great and engaging character, I find Meg's journey to be more engaging. She's a great character and it's no wonder that she's so beloved. Plus, she's a snarky queen. And again, my friend Bitterabov has an awesome video on this as well. Yeah, take a shot every time I mention him, but y'all should be following him anyway if you have taste. Number 2. Mulan. Yeah, you know you can't have a top 10 best Disney heroines list without including her. I mean, what can I say about her that hasn't already been said? She's a perfect character journey. She starts off trying to be the perfect bride and daughter, but she just keeps on messing it up, has no idea who she is or what she's meant to be, breaks the rules, and risks possible death for herself in order to save her father from certain death by taking his place in the army and disguising herself as a man. Starts off terrible at training, gets better by embracing both sides of herself, the masculine and the feminine, and ultimately brings honor and saves the day by being herself. I love how, unlike modern heroines we get nowadays, that they take her journey seriously. Yes, there's still some comedy with her, but they don't go over the top and make her clumsiness her most defining character trait. But her amazing actions aren't the only thing great about her. I love her realistic clumsiness, awkwardness, wit, cleverness, kindness, caring nature, bravery, creativity, and that she's funny without having to be over the top. She's far from perfect, but that's what makes her so great. She isn't strong just for being masculine, but also because she's feminine. She's flawed, but she tries. She's insecure, but that doesn't stop her. She wanted to save her father and bring honor to her family, but also wanted to prove that she could do things right. And yet, they still made sure that she was a likable character with a three-dimensional personality, so that we actually care about her journey. I feel like modern Disney could learn a thing or two from Mulan. And the less said about the awful live-action remake or the horrendous direct-to-video sequel Mulan 2, the better. Let's just focus on the original Mulan and how she truly brought honor to us all. Now, before I name my number 1 favorite, let's name some honorable mentions. Anastasia Tremaine from the Cinderella sequels, Kida from Atlantis the Lost Empire, Tiana from The Princess and the Frog, Jane from Return to Neverland, Alice from Alice in Wonderland, Violet from the Incredibles franchise, Jessie from the Toy Story franchise, Kiara from The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, Madeline from The Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, Belle from Beauty and the Beast, Dory from the Finding Nemo franchise, Miss Bianca from the Rescuers franchise, Rapunzel from Tangled, but mostly because of the excellent TV series, Helen from the Incredibles franchise, Nani from the Lilo and Stitch franchise, Cinderella from the Cinderella franchise, Merida from Brave, Shanti from the Jungle Book 2, Ilanwi from the Black Cauldron, and Roxanne from a Goofy movie. Now on to my number 1. And my number 1 favorite Disney heroine is... a tie between Ariel and Melody from the Little Mermaid franchise. I mean, is anyone surprised? I absolutely adore them equally. So for this, I'll talk about why I love them individually. Starting with Ariel, you know that I had to include my favorite Disney princess. Ever since I was a little mermaid boy, I've always absolutely adored Ariel. I relate to her rebellious nature since I've always had a naturally rebellious side to me. She's playful, mischievous, adventurous, curious, bubbly, determined, sweet, fiery, and a painfully accurate portrayal of Adam adolescence. She's reckless, naive, impulsive, stubborn, and headstrong. I love how flawed she is because it makes her feel more real and three-dimensional. I honestly love how relatable she is, and even as someone who is currently 30, I still relate to Ariel even to this day. I know the feeling of wanting more out of life and wanting to explore beyond the confines of your current existence. Ariel wants to learn more about the human world and wants to be part of it because of her love of learning and fascination with the human world. I adore just how curious and daring she is. When she sees something that interests her, she pursues it and is just so passionate about it. She's just so engaging. I also love that when she's on land and can't talk, how adorable she is with her facial expressions and actions. She's just such a delightful character. She sees what she wants and goes for it, and I love her for that. I honestly get so mad when people say that she was just boy crazy and threw her life away for a man. Did people not watch the movie? She sang a whole mother flippin' song about how she wanted to be part of the human world long before she ever saw Eric. It was just what finally got things going, though I'd argue that Ursula was the one that got things going. Besides, there's nothing wrong with wanting romance because that's not all she wants. She wants to explore the world and learn, and just like Jasmine, Jane, and Lilo, she was able to get even more fleshed out as a character in the wonderful TV series, where she got to show off just how sassy and clever she was. This Little Mermaid is the best Disney princess. As for Melody, much like how her mother is an accurate representation of teenage struggles, Melody is an accurate representation of preteen struggles. She's awkward around her peers, she doesn't know how to act around people, she's shy around boys, she feels like a fish out of water, no pun intended, she's unsure of herself, has a hard time communicating with her parents, and doesn't make the best decisions. These are all parts of growing up, and they capture that flawlessly with her. She has the same traits as her mother, but she also has her own differences that make her feel like her own unique character. Unlike her mother, who is extroverted and confident, Melody is introverted and self-conscious, which makes her feel more relatable to me, because I was definitely more like that growing up. I love how they can make her feel very awkward without having to make it her most defining character trait, like the Disney heroines of the revival era. She only feels comfortable in her skin when she's swimming, and she's told that she can't go out into the ocean. That's something many of us relate to, with how we're comfortable living a certain lifestyle, doing something we love, and being true to ourselves, only to be told that we can't for whatever reason. Being a naturally rebellious person with interests that aren't traditionally masculine, I definitely relate to that. Plus, being a merman, I also have a massive love of the ocean, and Melody's explosive passion and undying love for the sea is just so engaging. But I love how she also has a lesson to learn, which gives her more of an arc than her mother. Though to be fair, Ariel didn't really need to learn a lesson, King Triton did. But I still love how Melody had to learn her own self-worth and apologize for causing this mess. And instead of choosing between land or sea, she chooses both by breaking down the wall that divided them. She is the bridge that connects the two worlds together. She's just such an engaging character. Every time I see her on screen, she is just so charming and entertaining. I love her passion, awkwardness, curiosity, mischievousness, playfulness, sweetness, cunning, and just everything about her. Maybe one of these days I'll make a video all about how amazing she is. She certainly is a remarkable character that is more than deserving of it. Both characters feel like two halves of the same whole, but still feel like their own unique characters. Many have said that Ariel is autistic coded, which I agree with, and I'd argue the same rings true for Melody as well, and that's probably one of the reasons why I love them so much. And so those are my top 10 favorite Disney heroines, so what did you guys think? Do you agree with any of my choices? What are your top 10 favorite Disney heroines? Let me know in the comments. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, especially if you want to help my channel take off so I can do this as a full-time job, which I would really appreciate. You can also follow me on my other social media accounts in the links below. I'm the Wicked Merman from Under the Sea.